chess grandmasters know how to read? Asked some random person from Quora. Obviously they can't read. They only play chess for 24 hours a day in their basements in the dark. Now, Quora has some questionable chess questions, and we're going to be answering those today, right now. Let's get started. How many queens can be on a chessboard without attacking each other? Now, this may not seem like a bad question, but they give no specifics, so most people just answered it like this. They put 8 queens on the board, say, look, none of them attack each other, and it's all good. But this is wrong. Here's my solution. Basically, you stack a bunch of rooks in between the queens so they don't attack each other, and now you can fit 16 queens. But you can also fit 64 queens because they're all the same color and can't attack each other. Apparently almost 300 people like this answer. I don't understand the purpose of Quora. Next question. Is there a way to never lose in chess? For sure. At first, you could just never play chess. Or secondly, once you're losing in a chess game, you could get up on the chess table, smash it into pieces, and declare that the game is over. Next, what are the odds of someone who has never played before beating a master in the game of speed chess? Hold up. You've never played chess and you expect to beat a chess master? You can't even beat a 5-year-old child who's just learned the rules yesterday. You obviously can't beat a chess master. Is Hans Niemann the greatest chess player of all time? Not even this time, of all time. Well, it's not like anybody was better than Hans at any point in history. He's just so far ahead of all the competition, it's not even close. What happens if both players don't move their pieces during the whole game of chess? Well, they'd stare at each other, and then white would win on time. How can I get my queen back in chess? Well, you can try to turn it into a chess boxing match, and then the game will get cancelled. What is the competition to chess.com? Lichess is chess.com's competition because, well, they're free. What does chess.com offer for this money? Well, it's very clearly, next question. How much chess does one have to watch before they can play well? Well, I don't think you have to watch any chess. In fact, I think you should start playing chess instead of watching YouTube videos. I think it would be much more helpful for you to actually analyze your games instead of, oh, wait, I take it back. Spend all your time on chess videos on YouTube. That's the best way to improve. Is it possible for someone to become good at chess after just 1 hour of practice? Well, they're not going to learn en passant in an hour, so probably not. Is there an aggressive chess opening against e4 where you can play for a win with black? Probably the Sicilian defense because, I mean, it's aggressive and it's good and it's actually good. You should probably try to win with any opening as black because that's a great strategy to win. Is the Vienna a good choice to play as e4 against the Sicilian defense? Well, you might be a little bit confused here. Why? Well, you can't actually play the Vienna against the Sicilian defense. Those are two different openings. Let me show you. So the Vienna game is e4, e5, and then knight to c3. You can try to sacrifice the pawn, you'll develop your pieces, it's a fine opening. I think what you're asking is in the Sicilian defense, can you play knight to c3? For everybody watching, this is the closed Sicilian, and yes, this is a very good opening, but I still like the knight to f3 and then try to play it like this. Instead, it's a preference choice, it's fine either way. Do advanced chess players read opponent tells, like in poker, in formulating their game strategy? Pretty rarely, and you can't do this online, of course, but over the board, I've done this once, and it's a story I'm not really proud of, but I'll tell it anyways. Basically, over the board, I was having a tournament, it was going pretty well so far, and I was in the middle of a game, calculating, and I figured out that I could forcefully win a pawn. Now, I got excited, immediately grabbed my knight, and realized I had just left my bishop hanging because I needed to move the knight last, not first. This was quite upsetting. I was now losing to a weaker player than myself. But, alas, I kept playing on. I didn't want to lose this game, and I mean, I could just look at it like a sacrifice. It's not a blunder. Of course not. And, well, my opponent now was thinking I'm a pretty bad chess player. He was looking like he was pretty bored and wanted the game to end. Now, I took advantage of this fact, which is kind of like a tell, and immediately started setting up traps. I set up a trap where I would end up sacrificing a couple pawns to end up promoting to a queen. Now, it was very stoppable, and it would be super easy for him to just stop my plan altogether. However, I moved really quickly, and after making my move, I made a face like this. I made a very quiet sigh, and it looked like I was totally losing. I was super sad about it, And he took it, and voila, we ended in perpetual check, and I ended up drawing. Not my proudest moment, but yes, there are tells that you could take advantage of in a chess game. Why are chess players who grab free pawns called greedy? Is it bad to take free pawns? An actually good question. Well, if you can take the pawn for free with no drawbacks, take it. It's actually not being greedy. But in most scenarios, the pawn will come at a price. Taking the pawn will maybe lose a tempo. You might be missing a tactic. Perhaps it opens a file for your opponent's rook. Maybe it gives them time to start an attack. Whatever it is, most of the time the pawn is not actually free. Some people just see a free pawn, or what looks like a free pawn, and take it. Now, this is an issue, because they're basically taking a cursed treasure, and they are almost for sure going to get attacked or punished in some way. That's why they're considered greedy, because they're not thinking it through all the way. Does the size of the chessboard affect the game? Well, if it's too small that you can't even move the pieces, yeah. And even though you can play on these super tiny chessboards, there are boards that you can't play on. If it's also bigger than the Earth, which, yes, I know you can't make a chessboard bigger than the Earth, you also can't move the pieces, so it would affect the game in that way. However, if you're talking about the size of the board, like this, or even this, then yeah, it's going to have a pretty big difference on the game. There's some chess variants like this, and the game would be vastly different. How would it be different? Well, knights would be absolutely trash because they can barely move. Bishops would be way better because they can have a lot more space. Endgames would be super hard to checkmate because there's so much space. Middle games would be really weird because it takes forever to get to the other side of the board. And I mean, it would be just super different from normal chess and not something super enjoyable. How can you tell if your opponent has a better bishop than you in chess? Well, there's this concept called bad bishops. Bad bishops in chess won't beat you up, but they'll actively make your position worse, at least to an extent. Now, bad bishops, to figure out if you have one, you need to ask yourself, is your bishop trapped behind pawns? Is it trapped behind pieces? Is it stuck in a corner? If so, you probably have a bad bishop. Bad bishops are usually cramped in the position and makes it hard for you to move around and play with the bishop. Take this position, for example, from the French defense. Can you find the bad bishop? Pause it if you want to look more, but the bad bishop in this position is the light squared bishop on c8 for black. Why? This bishop is trapped by the pawn on e6, and it can't really get out of the position. It's sort of cramped, it doesn't have a purpose in the position, and it's not really helping black to achieve anything. Take a look at this terrible chessboard and see if you can find why this bishop on c2 is a bad bishop. Yeah, it's trapped by its own pawns and can't actually get active into the opponent's territory. The best idea for white would maybe be to reroute the bishop by going bishop to b1 and then bishop to a2 to try to get it active that way. However, right now it's a bad bishop because it can't get out. The knight's going to hop into d4 and black is going to have a better position. So if your bishop is depressed, looks sad, is stuck in the corner, and can't really move, it's probably a bad bishop. If your bishop is active, good bishop. How can beginners become intermediate players in chess? Firstly, stop giving away free pieces. This is the easiest way to improve. Why? Well, you need pieces to win. Don't give them away. Stop falling for one-move tactics, forks, pins, skewers, etc. Stop doing this, find your mistakes, and fix them. It will vastly improve your game. Nextly, you need to do puzzles. Why? Well, as a beginner, the most important part of the game is the middle game. You need to get some sort of advantage in the middle game so you can beat them in the end game. Of course, you need an advantage from the opening too to help win the game, but the most important part and how you're going to win most of your games is tactics. You need to do puzzles to help with this. Next, I would recommend against focusing a lot on openings. Don't study 50 moves in the Sicilian defense. Learn basic opening ideas and spend most of your time on puzzles. And actually do the puzzles all the way through. Don't just get a bunch of them wrong. Solve them. Now, chess basically has three parts: the opening, the middle game, and the end game. Don't focus that much on the opening. Don't focus that much on the end game. Obviously, don't not know how to mate with a queen or a rook, but don't focus too much on knight and bishop endgames, and focus a whole lot on the middle game. Chess is like a burger. Focus on the middle part, which is the tactics. It's the most important part, at least beginner-wise, for your improvement.